Yes, hello. I'm here with LL, and we're going to today discuss religious revival in America, if that, and maybe in the West, if that is indeed happening. We'll talk a little bit about that. Uh, but first, we'll do a few preliminary kind of exercises. So skip forward to the main part of the podcast if you'd like. I just did an exercise snack. LL is sick, so she didn't do that. But yeah, if you want to, go ahead and pause and just do some air squats and push-ups or some jumping jacks or walk around the block or something like that, and come back. But now we'll do some meditation, and then we'll do a little contemplation before we have our main discussion. So please go ahead and feel yourself just settle in your seat. Feel the weight of gravity. You can lower your gaze or close your eyes and just start to relax your face, all the muscles there in your jaw, and just relaxation down to your neck, your shoulders, your arms, and your hands. Just down to your upper back, middle back, lower back. Just relax your whole torso, your belly. Please relax your seat and your upper legs, your knees and your lower legs, your ankles and your feet. Now we'll do some breathing meditation. Just feel your breath come in and out. Just notice it wherever it's strongest. Just in and out. If your mind wanders, just bring it back to the breath when you notice. That's the practice. Just in and out. If you want to continue breathing meditation, please pause this and set a timer. Otherwise, we'll go on to body sensation contemplation. So, again, allow your body to settle. Have your eyes closed or soften your gaze. Just feel the air flowing in and out, inviting stillness. Let go of any effort to control your breath. Just allow it to be. Notice where your body meets the chair or the floor or the surface beneath you. Feel the sensation of gravity holding you. Now we'll do open body awareness. Just gently bring your attention to any sensation present in your body right now. Warmth, coolness, tingling, pressure, buzzing, any pain. What's there? Tension, relaxation, buzzing, quiet. Just notice. Now we'll notice and befriend sensations. As you breathe, can you notice how these sensations shift, move, or change moment to moment? If you find a tight spot, don't try to force it. Just breathe into it with kindness. Feel the texture of the tightness. If your mind wanders to thoughts, gently notice where it went without judgment and guide your awareness back to the feeling in your body. Now expand your awareness to include the sounds around you. Feel the air on your skin. Feel your whole environment. Now take a final deep breath, absorbing the awareness you've cultivated. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes. Bring the present moment awareness with you. Yeah. How did you like that one? I've never used that script.
I liked it.
Yeah, you look
Yeah.
pretty relaxed. I feel a lot more relaxed than I did before. Do you feel any more present? I feel a little bit more. So, yeah. So we'll go ahead and now discuss any possible religious revival. I summarized some notes from Pew and another source that I got through Richard Reeve. He's like a journalist, but he's written some books and he has some he's versed in sort of social science. Um, so some key questions I had: is there a religious revival happening in the U.S.? What kind of religious feeling and practice may be increasing? Why might this be happening? What are some good and bad things about whatever is happening? And where do I, as an individual, go from here? Any of us? Um, yeah. So, but Lisette, why did you want to, like, you're the one that thought of this topic. It's something that you and I talk a lot about religion in general. We're very kind of pro-religion in a way, in our way. Um, but yeah, what made you think of bringing this one up?
Mm, I remember we were discussing something about it last week, and then it just kind of stuck in my mind.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was,
Um,
but you seemed enthusiastic about it. Like, how do you feel about this subject in general?
I find it interesting because we keep hearing more to the contrary of how religion is declining, but now we're hearing the opposite.
Yeah, I guess
So
this
it's
is.
kind of a
Mm,
confusion.
mm,
Um, and then yeah, I've seen stuff pop up on my social media about it, so
mm. Do
it
you
kind of brought
remember
it to my
anything?
attention.
Mm,
Um, just more stuff about how there's like a renewed interest in the Orthodox Church with young people. Um,
mm,
and I don't know to a lesser extent the Catholic Church, but those were the kinds of stuff I was seeing
mm.
pop up.
Yeah, I mean the stuff that I saw, Pew Research stuff that I saw sort of supports that in general. I could go through. So the first question, is it happening? And from Pew, actually, a revival doesn't seem to be happening. However, there is a change. So there is a so there was a decline for decades in religious participation, religious feeling, but there is a stability since 2020. So it's like it was declining more and more. It was declining, and then it leveled off about 2020. Um, so, and I'll link it in the show notes, but the decline was because older generations are more religious and they have been dying off, and people of younger generations also get less religious as they age. That there seem to be more men in church than before. It's something a lot of people have noticed is actually not necessarily because more men are attending, it's because there are fewer women than before. And I can link to that study too. According to Pew, Roman Catholicism is losing about 12 people for every one gained. So that's a lot of loss. But Orthodoxy is gaining one person for every one lost. So they're like much healthier than most churches, I guess, because they're losing people, but they're gaining at the same rate. And I can link to an AP news article about that. But yeah, any thoughts about that?
Mm. Now that's just the year you told me, well, COVID was the elephant in the room there. So
Yeah.
maybe the time alone or away from work or something had people thinking.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I mean, I think there was more suffering. People were inside more. They had a loss of meaning, maybe a loss of happiness, more drinking, things like that during COVID,
Mm.
more political instability, being more online and everything. So,
Yeah,
hmm.
Yeah, it seems like everything bad increased from what I remember. I heard even domestic violence increased
Yeah, well, people were
during COVID.
inside more and unhappy, so I mean, that's probably going to
Mm.
happen. Um, yeah. So one question I had was how much of any sort of thinking about religious revival might be because of religion or our broader cultural way of thinking about truth. So I was wondering, this is kind of John Vervaeke's idea that some of the reason that there's a meaning crisis and people are looking to religion and or feeling put off by religion uh, is because of our way of thinking, basically, about truth. So I wrote some notes just kind of summarizing some of John Vervaeke's thoughts. So, in short, over time, we've lost more and more of our connection to a broader, true world, a world which can said to be connected to the divine, which is a higher ordering principle and or an anthropomorphic human-like being with will. Our world and minds become more narrowed, and we are less at home in this universe. We feel alienated and lost, but our religions and philosophies, rather than leading us to a bigger and better world and way of thinking or mind way, have also been narrowed by the modern worldview. Hence, we have nowhere to turn for knowledge that matters, to learn our place in the world, to learn how to live or how to gain wisdom. The churches are often focused on rigid and exclusionary beliefs on the one hand, or they basically stand for nothing, accepting everything on the other. In response, they may overemphasize identity, spiritual status, and, influenced by romanticism, strong emotion. On the other hand, the emphasis on dogma and spiritual status, by that I mean whether one is worthy of the kingdom of heaven and narrowly whether one will go to heaven or hell after death, pushes people into narrow channels of belief and behavior and away from concerns of being. Example of this is Calvinistic thinking. Our universities, too, no longer know what they believe in. That's from Alan Bloom, The Closing of the American Mind. The university, like the church, has become an overwrought smorgasbord that has something shiny for everyone, but nothing real for practically anyone. Hence, few would go to university to gain wisdom or induction into a noble, beautiful way of life. The university produces data that informs our politics. Again, Vervaeke here. This lostness in the world may be why people are talking much more about mindfulness, about Buddhism, Stoicism, even psychedelics, and have interest in Catholicism and in the Orthodox Church. But yeah, any thoughts about any of that?
Mm.
That kind of focuses on two very big concerns of mine, which are sort of spirituality, the church, whatever you want to call it, the community of, I don't want to say believers, I want to say seekers or, you know, the lost, which is sort of like uh, what a seeker is before they even know they're seeking something, and the university. It's like where we go for knowledge or wisdom, you know. But I feel like, yeah, both of those places have lost their way, or people don't have faith in them. They don't go to them, except for sort of more mundane, practical things.
Mm.
Yeah, what do you think of all that?
Mm. yeah, it just had me thinking how in comparison to Protestantism and Catholicism, Orthodoxy is lesser known in America and
Yeah.
perhaps less established. So
Mm.
it doesn't have the, I guess it doesn't have the same maybe levels of uh,
Prejudice or something.
criticism or criticism or scandal
Mm.
or things compared to the former two. And
Yeah.
it's something kind of it's different, and I think maybe there's more of an intrigue there and curiosity. So maybe
That
that's
makes
why it's
sense.
doing better.
Yeah, that makes
One
sense.
of the reasons why it's
But I
doing
think there
better right
might be
now.
something inherent to it as well, in
Yeah.
that it's more ritual, it's more mystical. And of course, those things are also maybe a little bit connected to that, it being sort of more foreign, something like that
Mhm.
for Western Europeans and Americans. Yeah, I have to admit, yeah, it even holds more attraction for me too because of that. I mean, both Catholicism and Orthodoxy, I grew up Protestant, um, are fascinating to me. I like the tradition, ritual, ancientness, the priests in garb, they take vows. I respect all that stuff. That stuff means something to me, even though I didn't grow up with it. But with Orthodoxy, yeah, you have the further, more mystical kind of ritual. Um, uh, yeah, I think it was sort of more influenced by Plato, and the Roman Catholic Church is more Aristotle. So more, more about definitions and rules and things like that than the
Mhm.
Eastern Orthodox Church is.
Yeah, it's like when I hear Orthodox people criticizing the Catholic Church online, it's more about how by kind of with the Vatican II stuff that they feel like we became more Protestant in the services when
Mm.
we and instead of like our the kind of traditional um more
You mean
traditional
because
elements.
because the services became more, they use the language of the people, not using Latin anymore, the sort of
Or,
sacred language. The priest
yeah,
was facing the congregation rather than facing outwards towards like sort of divine light.
yeah,
Everybody
and
facing forward in the front of the church.
yeah, and also like more contemporary music becoming acceptable.
Mm, yeah,
So yeah, that's what I hear from the Orthodox online that they feel we should have kept that. We should have, well, we still have the traditional churches, but the vast
very
majority
few.
now are kind of like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Uh,
think you went to one of those, didn't you?
yeah, well, my first church was a traditional church. It was more Latin, um, incense, Gregorian chants and stuff. So I went there for years, and then I
Mm,
moved and went to the new Catholic church, and then it was strange to me. I felt the more contemporary feeling. I didn't like it,
mm.
and
How do
it
you
took me
feel
a while
now?
to get used to it.
Mm,
Well, I got used to it, but I always liked the more traditional ones.
yeah. Yeah, I don't have experience, but I would prefer, I would prefer the more traditional. I only have experience of contemporary music in church, which I hate. So, but I don't like the rock and roll type of music in church, and like the people playing it wearing sort of casual clothes and stuff. And it'd look weird to play rock and roll wearing suits. So, there you go. That's why I'm lost. But yeah. So in the Orthodox Church, did they never have their Vatican II moment? They never had their modernization. They're sort of still stuck in the
Um,
past, still
let's say
cavemen.
I don't sufficiently know about it to say,
Oh,
um,
okay.
but just from appearances, it looks more traditional to me. Yeah.
I thought it was very interesting when I was a kid. I went to a high school, of course, and one of my teachers otherwise seems very liberal, but I remember he spoke with almost awe of like traditional um, masses. So it's to me those don't go together. I thought like conservatism goes with that, but I think whatever the case was, I think he could feel the difference, and I think that's a lot of the reason that for these problems of people not going to church or not having faith in university even or now wanting something else, wanting orthodoxy or ritual or something. It's a feeling, right? Like, isn't that a lot of the problem? It's not, I'm not saying only feeling, but people need that feeling, right? Don't they feel that need for the feeling? Not to use that word too much. The
Yeah, I
sacred,
guess.
right?
Yeah, I guess the feeling of actually feel really being connected to something
Yeah.
higher.
Yeah, that's what connection is. It's not an intellectual thing, right? I mean it's akin to being physically connected, to holding hands or
Mm.
to feeling your body together with something else. I'm even thinking of the meditation and contemplation we did at the beginning of the podcast. Like that's part of feeling grounded, right? You want to feel grounded, but you also want to feel connected to something larger than yourself. So you want to feel deeply in you know that you're a body. You want to feel deeply in there, but you also want to feel connected to everything else, right? This feeling of wholeness, this peace, this order to the world, right? And in your mind too, you want to not believe that you are this atomized, buffered individual that's just inside my brain somewhere, deep in my brain, even. But more like you want what's in your head to make sense and to there to be a reverberation and a harmony and a complex, maybe beautiful kind of dance and with what's outside and challenge too that helps you to develop wisdom, but not the kind of challenge that's alienating where you just feel lost and you feel nothing makes sense or things make sense, but none of it matters, like where you use your rationality to just, have a financially secure life or uh, a decent livelihood or stable relationships. But yeah, you kind of feel not very alive. Yeah. Before the podcast, you and I were talking. I won't give details, but you and I were talking about something very close to you in your life. And I used a Jordan Peterson kind of video that I had seen where he reads the story. Uh, I forgot what it's called, but it's something like it's a children's story about a dragon that where it's a modern story. So we'll call him Jimmy as a kid in a house with a family. He finds that he has a dragon one day in his bedroom, and it's just a little dragon. He just pets it. He tells his parents, they say there's no such thing as dragons. The dragon keeps growing and growing, and even when they can see the dragon and it becomes an inconvenience to them, and eventually kind of pushes them out of the house or something like that, they still say there's no dragon. So the meaning of the story, as Peterson relates, is there's something unspoken that's important in the family, but they won't address it. And you and I kind of applied this to sort of a situation that you know about. Um, but I just, and I think that was very fruitful, right? It seemed like that was very kind of helpful for you and kind of even a call to action. Um, But I just bring up that example because people want the stories that they hear, the knowledge that they have to make not only to make sense, but to matter, to lead to wisdom and better the good. That's what better means. Better means towards the good. They want it to make their lives better and to feel connected to the world, to make sense, to be useful in their lives, right? We don't want it to just be, I don't know, to just make a difference for money or for status online or to feel smart in, social media arguments or something like that, right? So help me out here. What am I getting at? What can we why are we having this religious revival?
Well, I guess the dragon got too big,
Yeah,
and
right. In society,
yeah, and people perhaps pretended for too long that we're kind of beyond religion or can get past the need for it, but it's not really true.
mm.
And
So you're applying that to like, yeah, we denied the goodness or the need for religion, and so that
mhm,
need grew and grew, and it's kind of
mhm,
discombobulating us.
yeah, yeah, or perhaps not. Well, I want to say not just religion, but just an idea for the kind of life we should live, like having a set idea, um, which we're
Rules for
became kind
life.
of relativistic about,
Mm.
to where now people don't know what a good life is or is supposed to be.
Or if
And
there is such a thing, right?
mhm,
Besides whatever you
mhm,
want it to be, which that's a
mhm,
little too expansive, right?
yeah, and
But at the
religion
mm.
filled a
Yeah, go
big
ahead.
part of that. So that's why I said religion, but really any kind of philosophy, uh,
Religion
or
is a path, right? Like
something. Yeah.
good religion would be a good path, or good
Mhm,
philosophy is a good path, and bad religion is maybe too narrow to really be a path forward. It stops you from
mhm,
going forward.
mhm,
Or bad philosophy is too, maybe. Yeah, I'm a follower of Rousseau, and he talks about how philosophy can also be a bad thing. I think of sort of overly, what I think of as overly sort of narrow rationalistic
mhm,
philosophy, like some atheists who are smart people, but sort of, I think, maybe use their energies to just sort of denigrate religion when religion is often a positive and doesn't have
mhm,
much negative in many people's lives. I'm not talking
mhm,
about people who are super judgmental or sort of yeah, really mean or try to take away rights or something like that
mhm,
maybe of other people, but I just mean yeah, some people who seem to be served by it even if they're not all that reflective.
mhm,
Although I think that's a legitimate criticism that, you do need wisdom uh, and not just sort of the love of the divine or something like that. And I
mhm,
think, I've told you about how Vervaeke's critique of Christianity is that many times because of the emphasis, the maybe sole emphasis on love, uh, sometimes uh, Christians don't emphasize the wisdom enough. So I think that's a legitimate critique. Yeah. But yeah, you said that there's a dragon been growing in our society. I think some people try to address it with politics. Um,
mhm,
and I think politics, is sort of how people get together and solve problems without creating too many new problems and also give a vision forward, sort of reason for being to whatever the group that they have responsibility
mhm,
over. And so politics can be somewhat part of the answer. But what I mean is sometimes I think people, instead of going with maybe wisdom and something like faith, something like mindfulness. They maybe put their energies into sort of political argumentation, get attention for themselves, things like that, that gives them something like a feeling of power rather than well-being, probably.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's not as good a way to go. I think that that can be a terrible mistake. And even if you can get a lot of people to sort of agree with you, I think that's sort of where a bad way to go forward for a group.
Yeah. Yeah, so just politics and like you said, the woke stuff and the universities kind of taking part of that, and then the weird social ideologies that were floating around the internet. I'm thinking of the incel stuff or
Mm.
um, maybe older classic ones like the flat Earth people and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Those
think that
give,
was before 2020, at least flat Earth stuff
yeah,
was
it
kind of
was. Yeah.
maybe an anti-vax stuff and all that.
Yeah, all this stuff is new ways of feeling together with
Yeah,
others based on shared belief that also puts you against something, right? I think all those things almost are defined more by what they're against than what they're for, you know?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, and then I would guess once 2020 hit with all the stuff that went on, then people realized those kinds of things weren't that helpful or
Yeah.
answering anything really.
And so maybe they went back to the church in some way because that seemed a more legitimate thing than like being against something or yeah, having some political kind of belief or something. Yeah. So my the what I wrote in preparing for this podcast, I can continue a little bit of it. So besides the church and monasteries and the university, there is something like Socrates's Agora, which was the marketplace. That was the place that he used to question people about, sort of philosophical dialogue. So the marketplace or the town square, where people can go to discuss and debate important issues of the day. This kind of discussion can expand and deepen to even the subject of philosophy, extending the conversation from things we have to decide how to feel about or what to do to connectedness to each other and the world. I mean, yeah. So before we were talking about there's the church, there's the university. The church is for spirituality, connection to the divine. The university is for knowledge and wisdom, how to go forward, and what is the who are we and how are we connected to the world? What is the nature of the world? Um, and a third thing that I thought of is, yeah, is the marketplace. Is, especially for democratic societies, some kind of public forum or arena. All these things have different connotations, but basically somewhere you can go to have like community, right? And isn't that something that people are really missing? Which is ironic because we use the word community all the time to, politicians or something like that, the
Yeah.
X community, the Y community. But, you know, most of us don't have much community, right? Especially we don't go to church or something like that. But don't I feel a desperate need for community. That's part of the reason I started this podcast.
Hmm. I feel like it's not really acceptable anymore to kind of do that. Like if you approach someone at a market or something, like that,
You mean
you're
a
either like
supermarket, grocery store?
supermarket, you're going to be seen as a nuisance or mentally ill or something.
Well, it's
So,
supermarket is a place you
uh,
go and you get your groceries and leave. It's not
uh,
like an
yeah,
open thing where you can walk around where there's other people kind of just sitting around or something. We're hyper rational about this
yeah,
kind of stuff. Yeah, you can't do that in a supermarket. Although
yeah,
people do start conversations and things like people should feel
yeah,
open to do that. That's happened to me before, and I think
yeah,
people should, there's another crisis
yeah,
is like people not meeting each other and having babies and stuff. So, but anyway, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we can't.
But, or yeah, I guess maybe it just there's less of a willingness now to kind of want engage. So,
Mm.
or I don't
But
know.
but anyway, yeah, that that's not an agora. That's not a marketplace. That's not a town
Yeah.
square. Do we have places like that? The inventor of the mall, I don't know his name, more than 100 years ago or so. His idea was that the mall would be like an agora or, would be a place where people could meet and discuss politics or something like that.
Hmm.
But obviously, it kind of became very commercial and just, families and teenagers and old people go there separately. And, it's not really like where a democratic society goes to hang out and to have community.
Hmm.
So there is online, we have social media, so-called social media. But with the incentives and the style, it kind of descends into something unlike expansive conversation between friends. There's silo conversations, there's reactivity, there's trying to dunk on each other, and there's triviality, and there's overly politicized kind of rhetoric. Yeah, it's not much of the depth conversations, which I think, you need to be in person to do that. Community happens not only through words, but through, sight and probably pheromones or something like that, needs to be embodied. Yeah. But yeah, just to what you and I are both saying is like we kind of don't have that. Maybe that's why conversational podcasts are popular because you don't get community with them exactly, but at least you're seeing people talking and you get a sense that you're in the room too. So it's like three
Hmm.
people or four people talking and it's a little bit like community. That's maybe a little bit why people like these conversational podcasts that even go on for hours, which you would almost think someone would be bored by that or something. There's not this, but people watch them and they like them. I do too. So yeah, even though there may not be a religious revival per se right now, I mean, the cliche is that people join a church because of the need for something bigger than themselves. Community is one of those things, connection to a higher power. So, LL, what is it that you need in life?
Hmm.
Sure.
I guess I need people and a chance or way to contribute in some way.
What do you mean first of all, what do you mean you need people? Just friends?
Oh yeah, people to, connect with or, just not be lonely, pretty much. Um, it's like everyone needs that, so I know I need it. I want it.
Yeah, what kind of ways do you want to connect?
Mm,
Do you like the way we connect through the podcast?
yeah, so I guess anything that comes by is a good connection, whether that's friends or mentorship or familial or just anything. It doesn't
Mhm.
really matter
It doesn't
what it
matter at all.
is.
Don't you feel a need for specific types of connection? For me, like I really need philosophical kind of connection, expansive philosophical connection,
But I guess for me, it doesn't matter so much. But um,
congeniality.
yeah,
Yeah. Helps you not feel alone.
mm.
Helps you feel, yeah, motivation to live. Yeah. And what was the other thing you mentioned?
A
Kind of
chance or
purpose.
opportunity to contribute in some way.
Yeah, contribute. Yeah, people want to feel useful. That's a feeling of purpose, right? Where other
Yeah,
people look at they know you as someone that helps.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. So
you have a job in mental health where you do help people.
yeah, I guess I've had enough of it, but I guess it's I still yeah, I guess when I think about it, it still feels good to know I'm helping people in some way.
Yeah,
But
I
I guess
haven't
I want
heard
to
you
help
say that.
people in other ways. Yeah,
Well, I mean, part of that's just because it's such an unstable job, right? Like changing shifts and
yeah,
people, a lot of turnover and a lot of and crises and things. It's a little bit too much, maybe
yeah. So I
for
guess the
this for your
problem was
system.
never, yeah, because the problem was never the people themselves, but just everything around that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it's a difficult kind of system or place to work in. But
yeah.
in your new job as an accountant, I mean, will you feel that way?
I'll see how it goes because I, I, I know like that job could probably feel robotic, so maybe I want to open up my own business, just helping small businesses or something.
Yeah, you've talked about kind of doing specific work that can kind of be contributing, helping people kind of keep their businesses going. And did you even say something about you have an interest in aliens? Did you say something about starting a website about alien sightings or something? Or is that's not
Uh,
with the
I
accounting
don't think
job?
so. Like I made a website a long time ago about collecting kind of indigenous folklore about like
Okay.
creatures and stuff.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. But yeah, that's
but yeah,
okay. That's mm,
yeah, I guess maybe like stuff they saw could be like aliens. So
yeah.
in a way,
But what about feeling useful in other ways? I mean, how could you have you thought about what you could do with that?
um, I don't know. I thought maybe some some kind of homeless volunteering.
Hmm. Does that attract you?
Um, I don't know. I think I would just need to try it once in my life uh,
Oh,
at some point.
well, there's
But
plenty
yeah, I
of
don't.
homeless to do that with.
Yeah, yeah, I don't really know what more specifically, but yeah, I want to help people in some way
Is
or be
that
useful.
is that a dragon in your life? I
Mm,
guess dragon's more like a specific problem though, not like a more general existential kind of thing. So maybe not. But what is a
I don't
metaphor
know.
for that? It is something that you need, right? Something that if you did it, it would be your life would be more fulfilling and you would therefore be happier.
Mhm.
I don't know what a metaphor for that would be, but it's something. But anyway, yeah, you know that for me, there's a lot, a lot of these concerns is the reason I started the podcast. I have my interests and my deep need for education, for connection, philosophical dialogue. Uh, and I'm hoping to fulfill a lot of that through this podcast, or this podcast gives me a reason, an excuse to kind of do things that help fulfill that need for me and that Yeah, I think will, if done well, will help me feel more fulfillment and be more useful and good and a little bit of a light in this world. And thank you for helping me with that. That's another way that you're helping people. Um, yeah, any other thoughts on need for religion
Mm,
or or yeah, people's practices?
mm, not so far.
Yeah, I kind of just, but I think I told you a long time ago that I think, just sort of in my sort of general analysis of the decadence and the lostness of our society, of people in our society, that I think what we need is a new religion. And I kind of imagined like some kind of combination of sort of things that are already sort of strong and promising in our culture, Christianity, Buddhism, something, put in some psychology and science in there, put in some Native American animistic kind of naturalistic religion. Some kind of combination of those things and probably other things seems like something like a way forward.
Mm,
And I think people are um different people are pointing to most or all those things. Science is going forward. John Vervaeke is very involved with sort of cognitive science, kind of helping us to understand what brings us more meaning in life. Like psychologists and cognitive science scientists study meaning and they try to define it in ways that can be studied and we can learn about it. John Vervaeke wrote a book with another author about zombies. I don't know if you noticed it, but I noticed about 10 or 15 years ago, like, God, we have a lot of post-apocalyptic and zombie kind of media. Like, it's almost like we think that's going to happen or something. But Vervaeke, I think, I haven't read his book, but I think he points to zombies as like a symptom of our sort of spiritual sickness, I guess you could say.
mhm,
Um, like zombies are sort of dead. Well, they're not, they are dead, but they keep moving forward relentlessly. And in some way, we feel like that in our lives. They eat brains. That is the organ of meaning making. So there's this sense of like we want meaning or we feel like meaning is being taken away from us, something like that. So anyway, he just talks about how I think it's a great analysis. And it makes sense that we would have so much zombie media because they are relevant to us in some deep kind of strong way.
mm,
But yeah, but anyway, yeah, I think all those different forces, Christianity in some ways maybe being revived in some way. Maybe people are tired of the overly sort of loosey-goosey, ultra-liberal kind of way of Christianity. Do it any way you like, do anything you like, doesn't matter. And hopefully people can see the ultra strict dogmatic way is also not working. Um, and yeah, I think that's maybe with some of the interest in the mysticism of the Orthodox Church. And people are interested in psychedelics. Psychedelics are something that can help. They give you a very powerful experience that can kind of shake you out of your routine, overly narrowly rational way of routinely going through your life, kind of like a zombie. And yeah, I haven't heard much about kind of renewed interest in Native American religion or anything, but I think some kind of naturalistic religion. I try to do some of that in some tangential way with my interest in folklore on this podcast. But I think, yeah, the folklore, the even witches and, uh, even natural forms of worship, worship of the sun or the moon or things in some way, not necessarily anthropomorphizing them or seeing them as willful beings, but more like connecting with them and understanding them as symbols in human life. The sun for what gives us warmth and strength, power, health, something like that. The moon, this mysterious constant in the sky, um, etc. Um, so yeah, I think we are moving forward in some ways, in some good ways with those things, and hopefully we don't overly kind of put our eggs in the sort of political basket of like radical leaders or beliefs or sort of however you feel about the vaccines or politics or history or anything, you're not um, sort of thinking that will sort of help the meaning in your life or what you're missing, and more go for healthy community and healthy, open seeking and true deep wisdom. Yeah, but you want to have the last word? You have any thoughts about this?
Mm, no, I
Sounds
don't
good.
know.
Well, we'll keep talking about it. But yeah, I'm glad you brought this up. It's a really good topic, and I think we'll keep kind of talking about it. Okay. Yeah. Well, please everybody be mindful of the dragons that might be growing in your life and try to acknowledge them and and move forward in your life with confidence, faith. Okay. Well, thank you very much for talking with me today. And talk to you soon.